Hi Flosstube, it is Monday, February 25th, almost the end of the month. It is negative 38 degrees Fahrenheit wind chill outside here in North Dakota. So let's stay in and stay warm and avoid going outside at all costs. Now, I'm going to show you my shirt because there's a little bit of a story. This is a shirt that I bought because I'm an equestrian and my fellow horse lovers will understand. It says, "Manure happens." Usually I wear this shirt when I'm in a bad mood or just angry about something. Today, that wasn't the case, but it turns out I jinxed myself because right after lunch, just before I can start filming this, I take my youngest daughter to her licensed in-home daycare, and we had a lot of wind this past weekend, which blew around the snow that was already on the ground, and then the extreme drop in temperature froze the top of the crust of the snow. So those of you that don't live in snowy areas, you don't understand this, but when it freezes that top crust, it's actually possible to walk on top of the snow. After my oldest daughter got on the bus this morning, my 3-year-old, I was able to put her up on a pile of snow that was taller than she was, so over 3 feet tall, and she was able to walk on the top of it without sinking, or only sinking like half an inch into it. And so today when I took her to preschool, I was pulling into their driveway and there was a car behind me, and one of my pet peeves is inconsiderate people. So I like to, get out of their way so I'm not slowing them down wherever they're going. So I wasn't paying attention, and I pulled into the driveway right over a very small snowdrift. It was only about 6 inches, but the top of it had frozen. And then when you live up here in North Dakota, it is impossible to keep the snow clear of your driveway. When I lived in Michigan and in Nebraska, we were always able to, shovel the snow and see the concrete underneath of our driveway. But here in North Dakota, it's regular practice that your driveway, no matter how hard you try, is going to be packed down snow. You'll never get to the bottom layer. So I drove over that small snowdrift in my car, which it's a crossover, and then realized, oh shoot, I probably got myself stuck. And sure enough, I couldn't get out. I couldn't go forward. I couldn't go backwards. I was stuck. And the more I tried, I sunk through the frozen drift. So that's now in between my tires, and got to the slippery, packed snow. So I was really screwed. I couldn't get out. Got my daughter into the house, and start of her daycare, and some of the other moms who were dropping off, they were helping me using shovels, trying to get the excess snow out of the way. And then we tried the rubber floor mat trick, where you take the rubber floor mat out of your car, you wedge it under your tire, and sure enough, like magic, I was able to reverse out of that snowdrift. And yeah, so manure happens. So luckily we didn't have to call any of our husbands to help me get out of my predicament. So that was my day so far. Let's talk about stitching. All right, this past week in the School of Magical Stitches and Literature was the Chamber of Secrets is open. So we had to do 200 stitches apiece on each of 4 tasks. The first one was a skeleton, because the message on the wall said her skeleton will lay it in the Chamber of Secrets forever. Now, I have some Halloween pieces, but none of them actually had an outright skeleton. And while I could have said that, any of these people have a skeleton inside them, I decided, hey, what the heck, I need some Halloween smalls anyways. So I looked through my Halloween magazines. This is Just Cross Stitch 2012. I decided to stitch one of those skull and crossbones on some fabric that I had dyed. I already have another Halloween small on here that I need to fully finish. So 200 stitches did not finish him, but it was so close and I still had time left in the day, so I just finished him on Monday. So I've got a small ready. Maybe I'll put like poison or, backstitch something around him. I'm not sure yet. The next item was, you didn't have to do them in order, so I kind of jumped around. The next item I did was to represent Fox the Phoenix, was an item that you restarted. And for me, that was a summer ball by Debbie Littlejohns. Excuse me, Sandra Littlejohns and Debbie Lester. I'm getting distracted by notifications on my phone. So last year I did page 1. I'm on page 2. So I did 200 stitches on this. This is full cross with fractionals and some back stitching. Let me see. I worked on that blush pink of her dress in that next page, if you can see that. Doesn't look like much, but let me see if I can hold this. The sides out here, there is some that goes right down along the page break, so it makes it hard to see. So there are 200 stitches in there. Pardon the noise, they are clearing some more of the snow that blew over the sidewalks. And let's see, the next task I did was work on something that keeps you from being killed by the basilisk and only petrifies you. So looking through a camera lens, looking at something with a puddle, a mirror, or looking through a ghost like Sir Nicholas. So I worked on Trick or Treat by Randall Spangler, charted by Hade. You can see there's several ghosts in there. And again, this is the piece I'm doing Extreme Cross Country for the first color. So I'm starting with black. 10 stitching, so I had to do 400 stitches for this task. And I finished up the cat's hindquarters and started on her tail. And this is the start of one of the fence posts right there. So I carried the black up here, and there will be more fence going across the page. So there was 410 stitches into that. And then the last task I had was work on something that would be a weapon for the basilisk. So of course Harry killed the basilisk with the sword of Gryffindor, so I worked on the Excalibur block of Camelot sampler. So I had already done the block with all the words, and I had done the border, and this time I actually started on Excalibur itself. This is a Teresa Wentzler, and the sword is 1/1. So focus. There you can see there's a little over 200 stitches of 1/1 in all different shades of gold. And I've got more work on that one. So that's Camelot Sampler. And that completed my homework for the week. So what I do for the School of Magical Stitches, I try not to waste any of my stitching time. So I work my all my tasks in order by priority. The week is always first because that's the shortest amount of time. So I finish my weekly homework, and then I work on the monthly extra credit items. And let's see, I'm trying to think. And then I finished that last week. And then once I'm done with the monthly extra credit items, I go towards the yearly ultimate task items. Now, a couple weeks ago is when I learned that tent stitching only counts as half a stitch, so I had to double all my stitches. One of the extra tasks that I had already done for the ultimate stitching challenge was the 7 floors of Hogwarts, and I had done 1,000 stitches on the Hogwarts travel poster. This is by Country Magic Stitch in Etsy, but it is not in her shop. You have to order it by custom order from her. So it's all different shades of blue, and I started from the top and I'm working down, so it's very boring. Like there's only 1, 2, and I started this 3rd color right here. So there's only 3 colors right now, but that does mean it goes really fast. This is on 28 count Monaco 1/1 because I had it in my stash and it's a small piece. So you can see that third lighter color. There's my 1,000 stitches. Pretty boring, but hopefully soon I'll get to Hogwarts Castle itself. And that is the Hogwarts Castle at night. It's really hard to see. It's a dark needle minder. But there you can see all 3 colors. Lots and lots of stitches. So that was an ultimate task completed. And then it was Wednesday, which is Vicky's birthday. She's reading and stitching on Flosstube and also on Instagram. And she was inviting people to do a new start. And I've had this kitted up for a couple months now. I knew I wanted to start it. So this is the Modern Folk Embroidery 2018 Mystery Stitch Along. It's a 4 seasons piece. Originally I was going to stitch this on gray fabric with ecru floss because I liked a version that I saw on Instagram. But then about a month ago I saw Helen D's Flosstube video where she was talking about how she really likes her white snow colors to pop when she's stitching a winter piece, and she usually does it on blue. And the shade of blue fabric that she had just hit me and I loved it. It wasn't navy at all. It was a medium blue. So I looked at my RIT die and I actually had a royal blue RIT, and I practiced with a little scrap piece of 28 count Monaco to see how strong I had to make the dye and how long, if I double dipped it, if it would make it darker, and then rinsing out to see how much color I would lose. So this is the fabric I ended up with. You can see it's a really nice medium blue. And this is ecru floss. I told you last week about the elderly woman that I bought her stash. It included 23 skeins and bobbins of ecru floss. So that's why I wanted to use ecru. That, it gives me joy to use up stuff that I have. So take that, Marie Kondo. I'm not getting rid of it. I'm going to use it up. So there's the beginning of the border for winter section. And like I told you, I don't like to waste my stitching. So I looked through the 22 tasks for the Ultimate Challenge in Magical Stitches. And for 7 years of school, I'm using this piece because it does represent all 4 seasons. So that's a whole year. So that's my link for this piece. I think I've done just shy of 400 stitches so far. So next time I pick this up, I have to be careful because now I can't work on this for any other task. I have to finish my ultimate task on it first. Because you cannot double count your stitches unless it's for a flash event where they say that you can. And then we were on Thursday, and I didn't know what to work on, but I went back to my monthly sals. I'm one of the admin in Full Coverage Fanatics, and the February monthly sal is Fantasy and Fairy Tales. And I showed you a couple weeks ago that I had started on the next page of Beauty and the Beast 2017. I started by Tilton Crafts. So I was past her hair and I was working on her, I was past her face and I was working on her hair. And her hair was pretty much done except for some of these wisps. And to finish the page, I had to do some of the beast hair. And again, I don't like to waste my stitches, so I looked at the 22 ultimate tasks. And one of them is 7 prisoners in Malfoy Manor. And I decided this would work because Belle was a prisoner of the Beast until he let her go. And then someone on Instagram said, oh, and also Hermione was one of the 7 prisoners, and you have Hermione right there. I'm like, duh, why didn't I think of that? So now I'm also looking at this piece like, how can I link Hermione to the ultimate tasks? Because she's in there. So I got a lot done. I almost finished the page. I am so close. I was trying really hard to finish the page before this week's homework came out because I wanted to finish the page for the month. Just to check off a personal goal. Not because I'm not doing Stitch from Stash this year. Just I wanted to get this page done. So I did all of this for Belinda Aussie Stitcher's birthday. She had a stitch along, and a lot of people were doing Mirabilias, but that's not my thing. So she likes full coverage and she likes other fancy ladies. So I figured this would count. And it happened to be Friday where I was waiting for a maintenance guy to come to the house. So I had a lot of time just sitting around, and I had all this beast hair. There's a lot of blocks of colors. So I did over 1,600 stitches, 10 stitches in one day. And since then I've been filling in. I'm almost done. And this week's homework is recovery week. Dobby is a free elf. And so as many sets of 200 stitches as you can do earns you 1 point for your house. And this is 10 stitching, so I have to do sets of 400 to count this, but darn it, I'm going to get my page finish, which should happen either today or tomorrow. This piece is, unlike Moon Hair, this is fairly easy because the confetti is just kind of built in layers. So you just kind of follow the edges around, just like in my Ann Stokes piece, Friends Forever. It's not hard to do the confetti. You just keep building and building and building from the darker solid areas into the lighter. So it's pretty easy to go down the page with color by color to fill it in. So that's Beauty and the Beast 2017, 25 count, easy count, fabric 2/1 10 stitch, like most of my full coverage pieces. So I will definitely finish the page for homework this week, and then depending on what day that is, I might pick up something else. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the rest of homework this week. And then let me show you where I'm at on Moon Hair, which I work on every day for Full Coverage Phonetics 90-day challenge. So I'm working on this page down here with the 3 flowers. This is artwork by Suzanne Geisman. Just filling in that confetti. And focus. Unlike Beauty and the Beast, like you're jumping all over the page when you pick a color. So I don't know. I definitely will not get a page finished for the month. I don't know how many more weeks it'll take me. It's harder to get motivation doing all this confetti just to get that page finish. So there's a lot of yellow in there, so I need to get my light into my nighttime stitching spot because our family room has kind of a yellowish light, so it's really hard to distinguish between the fabric and the yellow stitches. So I need to get my light over there. Normally I can stitch there just fine without additional lighting. This is a little bit more of a challenge. If you hear any noise in the background, that's Hopper. He's destroying his toys. They're kind of like woven toys. So if you think about basket material, that's what he's chewing on. Okay, I thought I would show you one of my FFOs. I got 2 shout outs this week, one from Michelle Bendy Stitchy and the other from Julie McConnell of Reflections Framing and Stitching. That used to be my LNS a few months ago when I lived in the Omaha area, and I miss being down there with access to an LNS. This is the last piece that Julie framed for me. It is Red Velvet Cake by Glendon Place. You can see the jury rig that I have with the carousel horse to hold up my phone. So there's Red Velvet Cake. Oh, that reflection is horrible, isn't it? This is a blush pink outer mat with a darker red to bring out the reds in there. And there is a lot of beads in there. This is stitched on a 30 count mocha linen. I don't like 30 count, but I bought the linen from Julie my first visit to the store, and that was when Connie was still working there, and I was looking for the color more than what count fabric, and I only had to do a few alterations to the larger clumps of beads here in the corner and here in the middle to make all those Mill Hill beads sit right. The called for fabric for Red Velvet Cake is like a blush pink, but in the Glendon Place Stitchers group, I saw someone else stitching it on tan or tannish brown, and that really made the reds pop, so I decided that's what I wanted to do. I have Fudgy Mint Mousse by Glendon Place. I have the chart and the silk pack, the Dinky Dyes, which that was the Dinky Dyes. So I have that ready to go, but I don't have fabric. I don't know yet when I want to start it. That linen got to me because it was very loose woven, so you had to really watch your tension, so you wouldn't pull the fibers out of place. So, plans, like I said, this week I'm going to get that page finish on Beauty and the Beast. If you want to follow my progress and see when I get it, you can look me up on Instagram at Spartan Stitcher. I'll also put that below. I'm going to keep working on Moon Hair. And then depending on where we are in the week when I get that page finished, I might work on something else for more homework points. In March, for Full Coverage Fanatics, our monthly stitch along theme is vintage. So I'm going to put more work into a summer ball because the 200 stitches last week is the only time I've touched it this year. And I didn't touch it for several months at the end of 2018, so it definitely needs some attention. And what I do is, for whatever piece I choose for the monthly theme is also my by the numbers 1200 piece. So it'll at least get 1200 stitches, hopefully more. A summer ball doesn't really have confetti, it's just following the colors down their dresses or following the background colors across. It's pretty simple. I forgot to say it's charted in anchor, so that's the only piece that I'm working in all anchor threads. I have a floss box, one of those smaller floss boxes, completely devoted to holding the anchor for that piece so I don't get it mixed up. And then we'll see what the start of March brings for School of Magical Stitches homework. We start reading Prisoner of Azkaban. We'll figure out what the rest of the March monthly extra credit and reading and stitching homework is. I was going to say something else. Now I forgot. Thanks to everyone who has subscribed and watched and left me comments. I think I'm at 411 right now, and I don't say that to brag. I just like to be able to go back in my videos and see where my subscriptions were at so I can see how it was growing week to week. So I really appreciate it. I thank you for the shout outs. I'm also this week in Magical Stitches, they also created subgroups for each of the common rooms. So I told you that I'm a Ravenclaw, and I'm also now a Ravenclaw prefect. So if you need any help, Ravenclaws, feel free to send me a message or tag me in a post in our common room. And one last thing, Jessie Marie, last night Michigan State whooped on Michigan in basketball. So go State. Everyone have a good stitching day, and I will see you next week.